welcome to a very exciting episode of the Restoration Today podcast. We are getting to celebrate a 50th anniversary for a restoration company that many of us know probably pretty well, and we're going to learn even more about Jenkins Restorations in this podcast. They are a growing force in the industry. They have many locations, which we're going to talk about. They are unique in that they are employee owned, which is going to be something that we're going to talk about a little bit. I think that that's a very unique aspect that people talk about in reference to Jenkins. Amazing culture. They have some leaders that have different roles within the industry outside of the organization as well. So just a really well-rounded company celebrating 50 years. Excited to have some of their leadership here today. We have Drew and Jason and David. I'm going to let all of them introduce themselves because that's way more exciting than me trying to do it. So Drew, I'm going to toss it over to you first to share a little bit about yourself, your role at Jenkins, and your background in the industry.
Well, thanks, Michelle. Great to be here, and it's thanks for having us. It's exciting to celebrate 50 years. I've actually been with the organization a little over 22 years, so not quite half that. And I come from a knowledge of construction. I worked a little bit in college, but actually I spent some time in the Marine Corps. I was seven years there and was an infantry officer. I'll date myself, I was in the first Gulf War, so way back when. But I went on a missions trip and met Warren Jenkins and his son Jeremy. And from that missions trip, we talked about what they were doing. And Warren said at the time, "Hey, I need some more project managers. I'm running jobs myself, and I need a project manager, and I think you might work." And with my background, I'm handy, and I did a little bit of construction in college and growing up. So I jumped in at that point as a large loss project manager, running many different jobs around the DC area. And at that time, of course, we were Virginia based only. And I continued with that until a gentleman by the name of Jeff Yo came in and purchased a majority of the organization. And he had an idea to grow it much like his family's company had grown, the Yo Company and Day and Zimmerman, and they're about a $3 billion or more company now. He wanted to do the same thing with us. So he looked at our model and said, this thing can scale. And so we put together a plan, and from there we started scaling. So that's my bit in a nutshell. And now I think we should go over to the old man of the organization who's been here longer than I have, and that'd be Mr. Coleman.
All right,
Well,
Jason, take it away.
thank you, Michelle. And, first, thanks so much for having us, and congratulations on all your success with what you do, not just here, but for our industry. And you and I have had the opportunity to speak on panels together. So it's just a joy for me anytime we get together, even if it's virtual like this. But thanks again for having us. So Jason Coleman, I am part of our executive team, Vice President of Strategic Alliances, I think is the title today. And as Drew mentioned, I am the old man on the team, and it's hard to believe until Drew said it. As he's talking, I'm getting so nostalgic, remembering these different milestones. But I was introduced to the company in the late 80s. The first time I came back from Germany, my mother wanted to make sure we got plugged into a good church. So one of the churches that the company built at the time, Jenkins Construction Management, / Jenkins Restorations, part of joining their church was you worked in the field. And so I had the opportunity in the late 80s to work in the field. And then after undergrad and some other things, in 97, I came back to what was going to be a short stint, as we sometimes call it. So here I am I guess this is the 28th year on my second tour. And so, I came back in 97, we were much smaller, and we, as Drew mentioned, we had the luxury when he came on board to only work in Virginia. But when I first came back, we actually worked in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, the DMV as we refer to it, and just being blessed with a good reputation and being able to serve in the various communities around the DMV. We were fortunate enough to stay in the Virginia area primarily. And so over the years, I started, did some estimating, some project management, and then we continued to grow. And as, fast forward 2008, when Jeff acquired majority of the business, as Drew mentioned, we became partners in the business, and we were tasked to grow it. And for me to see us touching coastlines now is just extraordinary. So I'll stop there because I'm the old man. I get worried and grumpy and everything
Oh,
else. So
grumpy, I don't think that that's probably even possible, but okay.
very kind. So I'll
All
pass.
right, David, your turn. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. And thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate the relationship over the years. And I think you're the one to thank slash blame, I suppose, for how involved I am with the RAA today, which has been an awesome honor to be involved with the RAA for the last couple of years. And so thank you for that too. Um, my background with Jenkins is this is really my first full-time job out of college. So going back to 2012, I was moving back to the area. My wife and I both grew up in Virginia, and so we had some connections out here. And I knew a few folks at Jenkins, and it's so funny because I remember hearing about Jenkins restorations at the time, and it was like you have to be really, really good at what you do to work at Jenkins. It was the reputation that they had, at least locally in Virginia, was really stellar. So I got a job as a mitigation technician. That was 13 years ago in July. Since then, I've worn many hats. I've been a technician, a project manager, a trainer. I was a general manager for a little bit, and my current role is service line director of water mitigation and emergency services. So, thank you so much for having us, and excited to be doing this.
Awesome. Well, thank you all three of you for being here. And David, I'm not sorry for getting you involved in the RA. I only hear good glowing things about the stuff that you're doing on the board and things you're involved in. So
Good.
yes. All right. So let's talk about the history of Jenkins a little bit. It sounds like we have at least 63 years of experience with Jenkins here. Although, Jason, I don't know if you said how long your first tour is. So we need to add that into my 63 years.
Yeah, we'll just round it off to a couple of years. It was primarily in the summers, but the 2 years, so we'll just call it 3 decades.
Okay, so we're at like 65 years of combined experience at Jenkins between the three of you, which is amazing and says a lot about the company as well. So, Drew, I'm going to kick it back to you. So, as you kind of reflect on the time that you've been there and the 50 years that the company's been in business, I have a clue or an idea of what some of the answer to this one's going to be, but what do you attribute the longevity to? What do you attribute like the amazing company culture, the success, the growth, all of those things to?
Yeah, well, there's been a culture that started with really with Grandpa Jenkins, who started the company. We started not as a restoration because restoration niche wasn't really established in 1975 as we know it today. But they were doing church design and build, and he was a World War II D-Day survivor. He was held his dying comrades in his arms. He had quite some stories there, but he held faith very high, and we continue to. We have through everything we did, so we've been blessed through that. But it's really been the people, and as David said and Jason said, it is about the people. It's about investing in each other, investing in those that are running the jobs and doing it, investing in our subcontractors, and thereby we invest in the clients that we're serving, and really trying to lead through that. And it's interesting now. You look across, you go to a contractor connection event, you go to RIA or anything else, and you look across, and there's Jenkins people sprinkled across the industry. They've started their own company, or they're working for somebody else, or they're with one of the software companies or so, and they're across there. And it's always a great homecoming kind of to see them, and to realize the impact that Jenkins has made, but we've made through that, and we continue to look for the best people and bring them in and grow it. And we'll get into it a little bit later here, but the employee ownership is part of that ethos and that thought process.
Perfect. Okay, Jason, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'll jump in next. And Drew really hit it. Foundationally, what's contributed to success and longevity is, I think, keeping our culture intact, and started through Christian values. And so one of the things that we do to start our mornings in most of our offices, it's not mandatory, but we have what we call a devotional, and that's a time where some scriptures read, and we have some quiet time to support one another. And we come in, there's no rank and file. There's, no, hierarchy. It's just we come to, talk about what's been going on in life, right? Because everybody's got something. And we just really support one another. We pray for each other. We pray for the industry and different individuals that we've met, whether it was at one of the conferences that Drew mentioned, from Alacrity to PLRB, and so many of them. But everybody comes back with someone that needs just a shoulder to lean on, and we lift them up in prayer and just try to figure out if there's anything we can do to help outside of that. So that's been a strong force, I would say, in our success and longevity, because at the end of the day, sometimes we just don't have the answer. And through what a lot of us came to Jenkins through a common belief, and that prayer is something that has carried us a long way. And so even when we were trying to figure out, where are we going to stand up in office? Where's that next branch going to be? And opposed to even, recently not standing up a branch, but NRT, our national response team, so we could really get across the country where we don't have bricks and mortar. So we are able to serve, the continuous, the lower 48, I guess we'll call them. So, yeah.
I was gonna agree wholeheartedly with all of that, and I just wanted to add one thing that we've been really committed to at Jenkins, and that's service. I was thinking about how important that is to all of our departments at the company, and especially the mitigation and emergency services teams that I get to work with. We have such a massive opportunity to serve, and it is such a blessing to serve. And it's something we take really seriously as a company. I think it's been a big part of our success at Jenkins for 50 years. It's in our mission statement, restoring property and lives with a servant's heart. We have an annual Servant's Heart Award. Our owner, Jeff Yo, has a nonprofit, Servants with a Heart. They package meals. And at the end of the day, we are serving so many people on a daily basis. We're serving each other. We're serving clients. We have a long list of clients to serve on a daily basis, with homeowners, insurance carriers, TPAs, property managers. The list goes on. And so I've really learned working at Jenkins what a blessing and opportunity is to serve. There's so much meaning in that work. And I think that's been a big part of our culture and a big part of the success we've had.
Okay, so really quick before we move on, talk a little bit about the faith that I know that you bring beyond Jenkins into the industry. I've witnessed some things that I know that you have good relationships with other restoration companies. There are some things that I think your team does behind the scenes, even at events, that maybe people don't know about. So how have those relationships come about? What has it meant to you guys to bring that faith forward and out into the industry, like beyond the walls of Jenkins? I don't know who wants to tackle that, but I think you know what I'm alluding to, so I will leave it at that. Anybody? Jason or David, you're the ones I've specifically seen, I think. So
I think Jason should tackle that one. He's the man leading that charge at conferences.
Well, it's not something that I guess I hesitate because, and thank you for asking the question. It is important, and don't want to sound boastful, but we have been blessed by others that have wanted to come and join us in the mornings. In fact, last week at Contractor Connection, we had folks from Thomasville and Southeast Restoration, and just some other folks that joined us in our quiet time, because they too have a belief system, and it is cool because, look, none of us can do this on our own. If we wanted to do it all by ourselves, then we would fail miserably. And I had a wise individual in our industry, the late great Frank Curdy, gave me a great example. He was a former owner operator of Serve Pro of North Arlington, around the Virginia area. But he said, Jason, it's like going to the dinner table. You can't just sit there and eat all the food and eat it, and eat it, and eat it. Don't share with anybody, and then you can't do anything else because you explode. But you have to share. You have to give back. It's just like the precious time and sharing a meal with people. Everybody has to collaborate and use one another, and it was just like, that's one of those things that left such an impression. And so again, back to, look, hey, how can we help our, different, not just competitors, but even on the carrier side? And I've been fortunate enough, even at PLRB, to have what we call the back room meetings, where we would, get up at 5:30 to go have some quiet time and ensure that we were taking time for what was most important, and again, just lifting people up as they're going through different things.
I love that. And I was not trying to put you on this spot. I was trying to kind of allude to it without fully giving it all away and giving away what you do, because I know it's not meant to be like this big public thing, but I also know I'm not the only one that has noticed it and the only one that has commented on it. So I know you are being seen from afar, even if you don't get the comments, and seeing your example and the example of other companies with you has been very uplifting for other people from afar. So
Well, thank you for acknowledging. And again, it's about him. It's not about any one
yes.
of us. And it is important to acknowledge. So thank you for doing that.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how much the industry has evolved. So Jenkins has multiple locations. So Drew, I'm going to kick this one to you. So how many locations is Jenkins up to? And talk about what it's been like to stay an independent company in a market that has consolidated and changed so considerably in the last few years.
Can I talk about how the industry has not changed? Because it's a lot shorter answer.
Great.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know that there's a whole lot to that answer at all, but yes.
So yeah, when Jeff came on in '08, we were basically three offices. We were two and a half really. And now we started growing in 2010, really getting some legs moving in 2012. We're at 24 locations now. And we have the national response team, which can basically go anywhere it makes sense for us to go. There have been tons of changes, and there continue to be. It's rapidly moving. It's exciting. It looks a lot different. The landscape looks a whole lot different than it used to. TPAs have changed a lot. I think we were at the ground level. When fees were less than a 1%, it was kind of a crazy time. And we've seen that grow and change, and others come on the market. The other thing, if you remember back in those that were doing it back when we had to take pictures and upload them, and even back to when you had film, just the advent of digital photos changed the way the industry works, to the point that many of the carriers would want a separate service for the mitigation, the contents, and the rebuild, just to hold each other accountable. So, you didn't want your mitigator, ripping everything out so you could rebuild it all and do excessive, because you had no way of really knowing. And now with, moisture mappers and so on, and the digital photos, you're able to figure out as a carrier, the adjusters figure out, hey, what's going on with this loss and what can we do? And I think, one big way is that has given the clients a single source of restoration. So you could take it from, you know, first showing up on the loss and, securing the property to, mitigating the loss to actual restoration, all with one point of contact. And I think it's a much better system. And that's largely due to the technology advances and just the confidence and trust between the carriers and the restoration contractors. And so that's been really, really great to see. So there's one area. Jason, you have another?
Oh my goodness gracious. Again, just getting nostalgic dating myself, but I'll go back even before that, at the times where, your handshake and your word was your bond, and we got it done. And then also you pulled out the RS Means book, or one of the platforms was MSB, Marshall's Swift Beck, and so just we all had our graph paper. You'd write it out and do your sheet, and then use what was called a fax machine, which some of the listeners probably don't even know what that is. It's almost picking up the handheld telephone, because we had to pull over and put a quarter in that rectangular thing called a phone booth and make a call sometime, before the advent of mobile phones and devices. So, but those times were unique and different. And what I mean by that is we could exchange that information. If adjuster would take my sheet and, get an agreement from their boss. And then we could do those sort of things. It's not because we were trying to get over, but, we are the licensed contractor, and, heaven forbid things get litigious. Even back then they did, but, it was, hey, they have to defend their work product. And that's all we want to do. We all want to do a good job. And it's that collective goal that everybody has the same objective, but how do we? And as Drew said, maybe some things haven't changed, but what also happened in that time is it's about relationship too, right? As much as things change, you still need to have key partners, key relationships in place, and make sure that at the end of the day, we are taking care of our respective clients together.
Yes,
I was
100%.
going to add a couple recent changes just that I had written down for this question. I really appreciate the full scope of all the significant changes that have happened over the last 20, 30 years. More recently, we had, COVID hit, and we responded to that with decon services all over the country was a big concern for a lot of commercial businesses. And so our environmental team shifted and responded and adapted, and they provided decontamination services. Another shift we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years is certainly an uptick in the amount of storms and the impact that storms are having on businesses, particularly on the coast and in Florida and Texas. And so as a result of that, we have started a national response team a few years ago, and that team responds all over the country. And then a big thing we've been talking a lot about at conferences lately is the, advent, to use that word, of AI and LiDAR scanning and 3D imagery. And so that's leading us to, again, adapt to some more software changes and technology advancements to include and incorporate centralized estimating, automated estimating. And so lots of changes over the last 20 years, tons of changes over the last couple years.
Okay, sticking with that really quick, I'm going to jump around on our questions a little bit. With the change in technology, especially, it's changing so rapidly. I know it's hard for anybody to keep up with at this point. So how does Jenkins kind of stay up with technology? Where are you looking as kind of those sources of seeing what's coming? And then how are you adopting them internally in ways that hopefully make sense and that are going to not make your team crazy, because there's all this change happening all the time. Change management is a huge thing. And when you have 24 locations, that's a whole thing. So talk about technology, adopting technology, and kind of keeping up with things. I don't know who wants to take that one first, but
I can start with, go ahead. Yeah, I'll start with it. Just, we are very fortunate. David is one of our directors that helps oversee the different service lines that we have. And, we try to stay up to date and informed with the different, products that are available. In fact, we are one of the pioneers of the audit tool that we'll call it. And as Drew said, we've been very complimentary to the industry. So some of our former team members are now with some of those different organizations. And so, yeah, we do our diligence. And, again, last week when we were at Contractor Connection was the latest place that we were able to, Mike Hussa, who leads up that team with us, one of our executives, he was able to talk to the myriad of different groups that were there, and from Verisk to Encircle and PSA and Cotality. Sorry, thank you. I was next gear, stability,
I know.
but we
Where
all
is
know.
it?
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we just try to stay, attuned to what the latest technology is, and we will try to pilot some things ourselves and see if it's a good fit, because it needs to be a good fit, and it's not always or at different times, but it's like the workflows, which unfortunately things are slow right now, but it ebbs and flows and things will come full circle. But
Yes.
yeah, I'll pass it over to one of the others if there's anything more.
I'll just add that this is going to be a little repetitive, but we attend a lot of conferences as an organization, and I'll just give a shout out to RA specifically because I work with the RA a lot. But they have a vendor expo floor where We can walk around and meet in person a lot of these companies that offer the various software, and I think they do a really good job of showing you in person what they offer. We're big into piloting stuff. We do that a lot, trying out different technology. A big thing for us is prioritizing integration. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these companies have open APIs now, and so we can integrate in a lot of ways. Some are closed off.
Yeah.
Some of the different technology is required by clients, some is not, and so juggling all of those different pieces is really important to us. And then I think you nailed it on the head. The change management piece is a critical component of this, and I think that's hit us harder in the last couple of years than ever before since I've been here for 13 years. The amount of technology change is pretty significant.
Yeah. Drew, anything you want to add to that one?
No, other than I'll tell a little story. We were trying to design an internal system to look at the roles on any one of the scopes we'd upload and help fire on that. And we had a really sharp guy that was here. First name might have been John, and somebody named Scott Severe was in here and talking to us about whether he could do it himself, or we were talking about whether we could do it or do it internally, and we were really close to doing it internally, and we decided, all right, Scott, we'll allow what was it, client runner at the time, we'll allow you to let's partner up here. And I said, and I said to him in the meeting, I said, I know what's going to happen here. John's going to do all the work, and once you have it figured out, you're going to hire him, and that's pretty much what happened. But it's just and it's been good for all of us in the long run. But it's kind of neat to be one of the organizations that's on the leading edge of that, and that we're able to partner with people and be like, all right, how can we really put this in place, and let's pilot something here, and let's test it out with the group we have and see if it'll work, and work to do that. And with our service line directors able to do that and partner with people throughout the industry, it's been really exciting to see, and exciting to see the changes.
So let me interpret that for you, Michelle.
Okay.
Just like one big family, we've always got somebody that goes in the penalty box. But Papa Bear is okay today, so we're in a good place. We're going to keep moving forward.
It's amazing how much technology in the industry has been started in restoration companies and then kind of moved out into its own sphere. There's a lot of technology out there that's like that. And also it's such a tight-knit industry that you really shouldn't ever talk about somebody else to somebody else, because there's probably they work together. Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's connected. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about being employee owned. David, I'm going to kick this over to you first. So, talk about what that means. I don't know how specific you want to get, so that's totally fine. But what it means to be employee owned and how that kind of affects the company culture, your hiring, retention, those kind of things.
I think it means a ton. I'm pumped about it. I was thinking about this question and what it means to me. I've been here for 13 years, and a lot of our leadership has been here for a while. We do a lot of growth and promoting from within. So a lot of the folks who are in management and leadership positions started as a technician or a project manager, and so we have an awesome group of leadership that care a lot about the company. And we talked already about how any company that's going to last 50 years, like we're celebrating this year, is going to do that because of the people. And so what it means to me is that we get to keep this company intact. We get to maintain the culture that all of us love so much. And we're not perfect. We fail at it all the time. But man, what we strive to be, what we set out to be with our faith and family oriented company is such an awesome thing that I'm really pumped about being a part of. And so with 100% employee ownership being our goal, that's where we're trying to head towards. What it means to employees is we get to preserve what we have, we get to work together to enhance it and to make it better and to grow it, and we get to share in the wealth and success of the company with each other. So when you ask the question, what does it mean for hiring, and what does it mean for job management and responding to jobs or serving each other, I think it just adds an ownership element that this means something significant to all of us. Like when I am in an interview for someone who's looking to be a technician or project manager or general manager, I'm looking to hire a future co-owner of this company with me. And so it just means a lot. I think it just adds a level of meaning and importance to everything that we do. And again, easy to lose sight of that on a day-to-day as we get into the grind. But when you sit back and think about what an awesome thing it is to be headed towards employee ownership, I just think it has a ton of impact on what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew or Jason, anything you want to add on that one? No?
I would add, as David mentioned, just being able, we tried to help with some different visuals around the offices with the enhancing and preserving and sharing of the culture. And so, as David mentioned, just that enhancement is really something that I've been able to see in action, because that teamwork that happens, trying to hold your teammate accountable. It's not just leadership or managers, but it's one another. And even something as simple as you see folks taking out the trash, not waiting later until the services are coming by, but you're a part of this. This is real, dollars and hopefully wealth down the road as you continue to stack up your years with your legacy here. So it's really neat to see people that understand what that culture means and just holding each other to account. So it's something that's been attractive, I think, to those that may not have otherwise have had opportunity like that. And we do have some folks that have been a part of ESOP before. I think is it Publix, that's the largest ESOP. Some folks that were with us along the way that have been through those. They have been able to share their experiences with ESOP too. So yeah, really exciting time for our organization.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So, Drew, I'm going to toss it back to you. So, let's talk about, I know that the ESOP is part of this, but talk about Jenkins' goals over the next maybe 5, 10 years. Where's the company going? What's the vision? What's coming next?
Yeah, well, as we've grown, and all the offices we're in, we're in really key spots, where there's a lot of activity. But our capabilities to do the national response wherever it's needed, we want to be able to deliver an organization that brings empathy and caring, and understands that emotional transference that needs to happen, when somebody has a loss, because somebody having a loss is not like somebody doing a build or a remodel, or they didn't want their business or their home to be wrecked. And for us to be able to come in and represent the carrier that's cares about putting them back in place, we want to do that, as many places as we can and as well as we can, and continuing to grow with that as we do. So it's really an exciting time. We have a lot of things in place with the technologies and the partnerships we have building. There's a lot of runway in front of us to make that happen, with the idea that in doing that well, we'll get to 100% employee ownership, and everybody will reap the benefits of that, not just one or two people. So.
Yes. Okay, Jason or David, anything you want to add to that one before we go into story time, which is my favorite point of every podcast? But
I think one thing I'll add is we have our mission, vision, and values, and our vision statement has not changed, and that's to be the restoration firm of choice in future and existing markets. And that's something that has stood the test of time, and I think still will. Drew's going to correct me here. I see him smiling.
I like the future markets part. That's something that people probably don't think about, but the world has changed a lot. COVID changed things a lot. So that's an interesting perspective to know, to look ahead and know that things are going to change in a lot of ways. There are segments now that restoration works in that didn't exist before.
I may have had it inverted because I'm so old and existing in so.
Drew's like, I'm gonna let it be, let it be. Okay, so let's go into story time a little bit. I'm going to ask you guys actually for two different stories. So first, I would love to hear a few stories from Jenkins and, examples of the company's commitment to excellence in restoration, whatever that may be. It can be an internal story about teams. It could be a job. It could be something within the industry, whatever that may be. So who wants to share first?
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
So I have one that I just think so extraordinary, and we know and understand what a privilege it is to serve in our industry, and we have been very fortunate, very blessed to have some really good relationships in place. And with those really good relationships come hard conversations and times when you're not serving as well as you could be or should be. But during a meeting with a carrier manager in the Virginia area at the time, we were with some other leaders in that insurance company. And it was just one of the most extraordinary things after working together and coming back from something that seemed like there was no coming back from, hence, prayerfully being able to get through. But this manager at the time says to his team, Jenkins Restorations is like the Chick-fil-A of our industry. And I'm not sure, nor will I again hear a compliment that has been as meaningful as that. Because as we know with Chick-fil-A, regardless of where you are in the country, it is going to be the same. It is going to be consistent. And if something happens that is not to your satisfaction, they take care of it right away. So for us to be compared to the Chick-fil-A of our industry was just absolutely exceptional, and so grateful that we do, and it's noticed how we pour into our folks to try and serve each other and serve the industry.
That is amazing. That is high praise. Chick-fil-A is like, wow. Yeah. Okay, who wants to go next?
I can go. It doesn't get better than Chick-fil-A, but I'll go anyway. Um, I had two stories I wanted to share. One, just every meeting that we do for the MIT and ES team, we share positive Google reviews. And so this isn't a specific story, but well, I guess it is. I run this meeting once a month, and we used to do these Google stories, or Google review sharing of stories. And I stopped doing it for a couple months. It would take about 5 to 10 minutes, and wasn't sure if anyone was getting anything out of it. And I probably heard from 4 or 5 or 6 people over the course of the next couple months, hey, what happened to sharing those stories? And so I've been really struck by how much people care to hear about the positive feedback that we get. So just to, there are many stories of our company's commitment to excellence, and you can see it when you talk to a lot of our customers, or you see the reviews that they post. And so I've really enjoyed getting back to spending 5 minutes at the beginning of every meeting, covering some of the positive feedback we get. And it's some awesome stuff too, like people who are thanking our team for saving the day. So it's an encouraging thing. The other story I have is I'm going to tie it back to the ESOP again, because I'm that excited about it. I remember vividly when the announcement was made that we were going to go 100% ESOP. It was really around the time a lot of restoration companies were just starting to get sold
Mm.
to private equity, which is still happening, still very common in our industry. And so I remember people crying tears of joy about the news, because it was a time where we were a little uncertain about what the future held because of the direction the industry was headed. And so just the impact that that has on our commitment to people, which speaks to our commitment to excellence, that we are going to keep this thing intact. We're going to be an ESOP, and we care that much about this company, was pretty profound to me. And I still remember vividly just some people shedding a couple tears about the news.
I love that. Okay, Drew.
I'll tag in a little bit on a mitigation story, and just an example of somebody that has really lived out the servant's heart. In fact, we have an award we do to acknowledge those. It's our highest award. It's the Vicky Helm Servant's Heart Award, and Vicky was she worked in the accounting department. She actually came. We did a few acquisitions. She came through an acquisition. She was just a gem of a person, working up till I think 2 days before she passed from cancer, and it was incredible. Everybody knew Vicky, loved her, but there was and still is a mitigation technician in a certain office in the southeast. And he was very high performance. He's kind of a go get him. No holds barred, just get it done, get the work done. Let's get in, let's get out. And he was one of the first winners of the Servants with the Heart Award. And the storyline that happened was he went into a house, and there was a special needs little girl there that was really traumatized by everything that happened. And he ended up spending hours sitting with her and just playing with her and doing things. And we had pictures of him and the owners were just, so thankful for him. He didn't come in and just bull his way through stuff, just get it done and get out. He saw the need, and he saw the emotional place she was, and he sat down there and spent hours with her, and just made that person's life, made it all okay. That it just exemplifies what people are willing to do, what our people are willing to do to serve the clients, and was really a tribute to where his heart is and where it continues to be. So
That's a great story. Ooh, tugs at my mom heart. That's a great story. Uh, okay, before we wrap it up, any fun Jenkins stories from like restoration, reconstruction, any interesting jobs you've been on? I'm guessing there are some that you can't talk about based on some of the regions that you're in, probably a lot you can't talk about, but any that you can talk about that are kind of fun, interesting, crazy, spiders, raccoons, I don't know. Anything fun? Complex.
we were involved with the some of the losses in Asheville.
Okay.
Fun. The traumatic. I mean, what happened there? But we have some crews in the NRT that really have done just an excellent job on something. When you walked up to it, you're like, "Ah, man, what's it going to take to clean this up and get this back to place that can move forward." And we have a team that steps in and just you know sacrificed everything and days on end to get that done and make it palatable to the owner. So that was a big one that was there. Jason, what do you think on a fun one?
Well, as I was trying to remember a couple and what I can share, but
Yeah,
there
That's
was
where you.
one
that's
of
the
the
hard part.
tornadoes that blew through Maryland. So this was when I was chasing Jason. I was leading the emergency teams and
Jason.
chasing a loss over there in Maryland, and it ended up being a church. And of course, that's what we are, foundationally known as church design build. And so just fast forward, this thing was just turned, almost twisted upside down. The cupola had fallen off the top. They're like, how in the world is this thing going to get put back together? And so, at the time, some of the Jenkins were still involved, and this was a time where I think we actually had four staff pastors in our organization. But nonetheless, it was a spirit-filled church. And so after the triage, fast forward, getting it put back together, they invited us over for their, welcoming back to the, welcome home service, as we'll call it. And, I've been to a lot of different churches, but yes, it was spirit filled. And I think there might have been a reptile that came out at one point, and we had a good old time. But yeah, that was something that you just never know how impactful things are going to be when you're in different situations. But that was a lot of fun. But another one that we were called to more recently was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it was the tallest building at one point in Raleigh, and it still might be. And this was a major fire, made national news, and multi-million dollar loss. Another group was called in to do the triage. One of the franchise organizations, the Green folks, as I think they're referred to at times, and did an amazing job with the triage. And so, it got to the point of interviewing different restoration contractors, and anyone that had a shop in Raleigh, their name was in the hat. And Drew and I actually went down to meet with the board and the ownership group a couple times, and they ended up selecting us. And this was one of those just exceptionally, it was a mixed use space too. It wasn't just residential, but they had I think bank and some other shops down low. But you talk about so many stakeholders that
Mm.
you are working for, and exciting to get those opportunities. And then we've got to make sure we deliver
Exciting.
on our promise and perform. And so, but by the time we finished it, folks were pleased, and it was something that just really was extraordinary job by our teams, and just thankful in the end that we were able to get that taken care of.
You said that so graciously. And those are always learning opportunities as well. The more parties that are involved, the more learning opportunities there are to make it through. So
Yeah, yeah. Every one of those units were customized too. I mean, this was the more affluent locations to live in the city of Raleigh as well.
I'm sure that was quite a feat. All right, David, any stories that you want to share?
Yeah, just Drew touched on the hurricane response on our national response team. That's always incredibly complex anytime we're responding to an event like that, moving people and vehicles and equipment and supplies around. I also wanted to shout out our Jenkins environmental team. They do a lot of our complex work. They deal with trauma losses. They do drug lab cleanup. The one story I probably can't get too deep into, but we did a project for a former NFL player. They had an oil spill in, I think, a basement, and the JES team handled that. And it's crazy how difficult it can be to get rid of some of the things that our environmental team are trying to get rid of and protect occupants by getting rid of hazards. So shout out to the Jenkins environmental team.
Love it. Okay, gentlemen, anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up? We've covered a lot. This has been fun.
This has been really fun, and thank you again. I do want to acknowledge, our 50-year celebration at the end of this year. We are going to open our doors to some clients and, vendors that we've worked alongside over the years on November 6th. So we will have a celebration here at our headquarters in Chantilly, Virginia. So more to come on that. And then also, congratulations are in order for you, Mrs. Blevins, for your graduation with an additional degree.
Thank you.
That was in,
I'm sorry.
remind me the additional degree that you just,
MBA. MBA.
yes. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Lots of hard work.
I'm glad it's done. I'm glad that I did it. I'm also very glad it's done and I got my life back just in time for summer. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Well, this has been a pleasure. I've had people ask me about like, when are you going to do something with Jenkins? And we want to learn about the ESOP and we want to learn about these things. So thank you for doing this with me. This was very fun. I look forward to seeing all of you at shows again, because trade shows in the industry, there's a lot of them.
Our fearless leader, Mr. Fetterolf, probably has a closing comment or two because he is a Marine. You're not a former Marine, you're always a Marine. I'm sure he has something.
Go for it.
No, I really did, Jason. You hit it there. So we appreciate all this industry has given us. We look forward to what the next 50 have in front of us, and hopefully we're doing it with the employees owning it, and they're all getting a part of it. It should be an exciting time. It can take some time to make it happen, but we have some faithful people and a lot of friends within the industry, and we'll get there. So that's good. So I really appreciate time with you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, David. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate all of you. Have a good one.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.